Have you ever asked yourself, am I relevant? I have. And unfortunately, I've done so quite often. So often that if you look at my career straight out of university, you'll find all kinds of versions of me. I was a chef, I had a catering business, then a restaurant. Then I became a TV host, a mompreneur, a blogger. I studied to be a sommelier. I was a cookbook author. Then even dabbled in interior design, toyed with the idea of opening an art gallery, and looked at buying and selling lifestyle goods. It's a lot. A close friend of mine once joked, "You're like Barbie. Chef Barbie, presenter Barbie, blogger Barbie, design Barbie." I laughed it off, but the truth was, I was all over the shop. I was constantly trying to come up with new gimmicks, new hustles, because I felt unimportant if there wasn't something novel or interesting happening in my life. Everything I did had to be noteworthy or newsworthy. I also found myself keeping up with the Joneses, feeling like I was in competition with my friends for every new campaign or project. That's not who I want to be. I want to celebrate my friends, not compete against them. When I finally found my place in this world, what's youth without experimentation, right? I eventually settled into my career as a lifestyle journalist and recognized that there is enough space for everyone to thrive. Things began to flourish. I worked really hard at making new connections and finding new leads. I sent pitches to publications hoping I would pick up assignments. I professionalized my workflow and started keeping proper track of everything: deadlines, payments, yes, even taxes. I turned my passion for writing and discovering the world into a real business. I was a travel writer jetting off at the drop of a hat to trek through the ancient and mystical bamboo forests of the Kunisaki Peninsula in Japan. I traveled across Australia's Red Centre aboard an iconic train called the Ghan, where I watched wild kangaroos hop across the desert while having perfectly crafted almond lattes for breakfast. Private events with bespoke experiences in Paris, like making macarons with Pierre Hermé at his atelier. I was invited to exclusive tasting dinners with celebrity chefs and was poured wine so incredible it took my breath away. I had so much to write about and so much to share on my social media platforms. I was also hosting on the regular, oftentimes for upscale parties and luxury brand launches. My life was a flurry of events, socials, and schmoozing. My Instagram was this curated aspirational space of glossy squares. Driven by ambition and validated by outward ideals of success, life seemed champagne bubbly and picture perfect. Then the pandemic hit. Setting aside all the anxiety and worry I experienced on a personal level, on a professional level, my greatest fear had come to be. I was truly irrelevant. What is a travel writer with no travel? A lifestyle journalist with no lifestyle? A host with no events? No restaurants for a foodie to review, and no more content for a content creator. My entire career was built on these exclusive experiences and the sense of validation that they brought. Overnight, it was all gone. At the beginning of the first lockdown in March 2020, I went quiet. And just like everyone else, I was cut off from family and friends. I was isolated, thankful for my health, thankful for my home, but isolated nonetheless. This isolation allowed for introspection. It allowed me to slow down and examine my life, to rediscover myself. What started out as trying to pass the time and stay productive resulted in me embracing doing things simply because I love doing them. I went back to cooking every day, and not just quick fixes, but real slow cooked goodness. Once upon a time, chopping onions was such a chore, but now I relished it, acknowledging the privilege of having something nourishing to eat. I took up gardening and spent hours pruning and weeding my plants. I once spent a whole morning sitting in the sun, individually removing little black bugs that had infested my beloved rosemary bush. I became a more engaged mother, spent hours building blanket forts with my boys, setting the table for our family dinners together. More importantly, spent time being a parent and not just a playmate. I embraced discipline and tough love when needed. I was also able to get to know my children more intimately, gaining a better understanding of their personalities and individual needs. While a mother's love is infinite and immeasurable, well, this experience allowed me to love them better. I danced, and I danced like my life depended on it. It kept me happy and sane. I stopped curating and started living. I no longer needed the exclusive experiences or exotic travel for creative inspiration. I was deeply grateful for the small wonders of everyday life. There was no end goal to my endeavors, no grand plan. I did things purely out of passion and genuine interest. Even the way I perceived the internet had changed. Suddenly, it was not just a one-way platform to broadcast my life, but it became this incredible tool to connect with loved ones and like-minded souls. I started an IG Live series just for fun, where I spoke to different personalities from around the world simply to get to know them. I explored a variety of topics that interested me, even if they didn't necessarily match. There were virtual wine tastings with winemakers from Burgundy and New Zealand. An interview with Crazy Rich Asians author Kevin Kwan about his new book. Cooking with celebrity chef Bobby Chin while he was in lockdown in Egypt. And talks about love and life with Kedrupchen Rinpoche, a young Buddhist monk from Bhutan. This series is what allowed me to be a pioneer in the online hosting world in the Philippines. And since then, I've been hosting events and webinars from home at least once a week for the past 18 months. During this time in isolation, I got to know myself deeper. I honed my own voice. I began to embody who I truly was and not who I thought I should be. And naturally, my passions began to flow into my work and my creative space. I also began to write again just because I love to. I explored new topics beyond my box, which led to a deeper and more profound body of work. I wrote about lucid dreaming during the pandemic and the psychology behind it. Holistic wellness articles about the importance of mental well-being. I also spoke to transgender Congresswoman Geraldine Roman about LGBTQ+ rights, her personal journey to her most authentic self, and a love that knows no bounds. Olympic weightlifter Hidlin Diaz shared with me her struggles and ambitions, which then culminated in her historic gold medal for the Philippines. I persevered and sought stories beyond my beat, asking editors for these specific opportunities, even though I found them more challenging to write. There was more research, coordination, fact-checking. There was a first draft, second draft, third draft. But it was and continues to be so rewarding. I now search for stories that have inspiring characters and lessons to be learned. My newfound freedom of expression on social media led to a better and more organic engagement, which in turn led to more partnerships, particularly partnerships with brands who were aligned with my values and principles, who also respected my creative process and celebrated my own interpretation of their brand goals. I also learned to say no. Once upon a time, I fell into that FOMO trap. I needed to be a part of every campaign, every social event. Saying no is liberating and empowering. My time is precious, and mindfully choosing how I spend it makes for more meaningful experiences and soulful connections, both in my personal and professional life. What all this has proven is that authenticity is truly the path towards success. But how do we define success? I learned a very important lesson. The only validation you truly need is from yourself. So love yourself wholly and embrace all aspects of you, even if they seem contradictory. I always had a difficult time reconciling being a mother and a sensual woman, being a homebody and an adventurer, being a career woman and a free spirit. These are all different facets that make up a shining gem. Embrace the difficult and dark parts as well. Don't hide behind a facade of perfection or perpetual joy. Celebrate the freedom of expression. There is no need to censor or curate yourself. You are not a business. You are a living, breathing, feeling, magical creature existing in this vast and complex universe. Carl Jung once said, "As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light of meaning in the darkness of mere being." We all need beacons. But what we don't realize is that we can be our own. Nothing and no one outside can bring you this light. And we don't need to travel far to find it. By embracing isolation and introspection, we are able to understand that the light and happiness we seek is within us. It's been during this pandemic that I realized when I focus solely on achieving success as an end goal, it actually resulted in the opposite outcome because I was willing to do whatever it took to achieve it, to the point of losing myself. Rather than searching for more, we should strive for better. This time also taught me to find the beauty in every day, to live each moment with vibrant enthusiasm. Now, enthusiasm is probably my favorite word, and that's saying a lot for a writer. But really, if you break it down, we can see better why it is so incredibly powerful. It comes from the Greek word enthusiasmos, which means to be inspired by God. And when we do things because we love to do them, it brings forth a natural and almost divine enthusiasm, a renewed sense of energy and positivity that is truly palpable, impossible to fake, and more importantly, infectious. If we allow our true selves to shine through, the opportunities will flow. So live your life with passion, perseverance, and purpose for yourself. And it is only by being your truly authentic self that you can bring happiness to others.